I appreciate it. For those that last year they had Ice and Fire Con in Mount Sterling at Deer Creek Convention Center um, for their con. And part of that con, there's a separate entity that does LARPing. And they didn't have Ice and Fire Con this year, but they still had the LARPing community get together. And we were like, okay, this is a perfect opportunity for a couple of us to get together and just say hey to everything, which made Chris and then also myself want to join the LARPing community to where even if they don't have Ice and Fire Con next year, we can at least enjoy ourselves in a different community. Chris went one day walking around and enjoyed it quite well. So that's the game plan for next year in case there's not an Ice and Fire Con. That being said, I am old new dude. He is
Mr. Jork, Asher's two-born son.
We had like 7 people on, and now it's back down to 2.
What?
They saw my face and left.
Yeah, we got 3 comments from 3 different people. We've only got 2 people.
Sanji, if you're still there, Chris, if you're still there, Deck of Cards, if you're still there, let us know in the comments. Anybody else still there? Because my thing says 2, but
yeah, I see that.
That's like old days. That's like 6 months, 7 months ago. That was our 2 people.
Hey, did you get a flood of YouTube notifications?
I haven't checked. Hey, Pod.
My phone came through with all my YouTube notifications, including a comment from Deck of Cards that had been there.
I've been telling everybody that I do not get notifications that somebody leaves a comment. I actually have to go back.
And then suddenly I got like 20 notifications at once of all my subscriptions and old things. Like my phone just blew up with YouTube.
It might have been Deck of Cards that I gave the heart to and a like. I want to say I saw it. Was I driving? I meant to make a comment on it or go back and make a comment on it, and then my memory is so I forgot to. But that was Deck of Cards, man. I appreciate it.
5 days after a comment on one of the triplet, probably the last triplet Targaryen video, saying, "Are you gonna make more videos?"
There's no more Targaryens.
Well, I do want to make a prediction video, but anyway.
Well, I've said before I was not that big of a fan of House of the Dragon. I'm not a Targaryen kind of guy. I'm still watching all your videos, but yeah. Okay. Now, I think I've seen one from Deck of Cards. I meant to leave a comment on your comment. I do apologize. Thank you for watching them. But yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of House of the Dragon, not like everybody else that just seemed to just pour into it. I'm not a Targaryen loyalist. I don't get into the history style of the Fire and Blood.
Yeah. I wouldn't call myself a Fire and Blood fan, that's for sure. But I do appreciate the fact that Ryan Condal has mentioned that George has given him like dropping spoilers right and left for Winds of Winter, and that that you can see that he's deliberately trying to put in the things the show didn't do, including right. He clearly wanted to do the boar hunt because that was one of the things that George complained about, right?
Right.
When Sansa talks about the boar hunt, she talks about a dream of a golden Lannister arrow and how true knights don't hurt the white stag, right? And they definitely put those 2 references into the show, right? He put in the original protagonist faking their spouse's death for a political marriage, and he put in Lemongate. People are like, oh, this is him acknowledging that the fans are have this Lemongate thing going on, and he's saying it's false by mentioning that this tree doesn't belong here, but it's still growing while doing it in front of a lemon. A lemon tree is the only thing that isn't Targaryen pornography, dragon porn going on, right?
Right.
I'm like, no, he's putting Lemongate in because he's never seen the fandom do Lemongate. And George has told him all the spoilers. That's what's going on there.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I didn't feel that good this week. I was telling you before we started, because I was planning on doing a Wednesday. I let Lizzie and Thistle know that I still wasn't up to speed. I still am. I've had a really rough week with my legs and my lower back, just from the ride. But in that downtime, I rewatched House of Dragons.
Okay.
I don't know. I might have been saying I don't like the CGI of the dragons.
Yes, you've definitely said that many times.
Many times, they don't have enough.
Our theory is that they don't blur the motion of the moving dragons, and so therefore it looks more like stop action, like
Exactly.
old style Jason and the Argonauts kind of stuff.
Exactly. It doesn't fit
Less,
in the picture. I mean, it looks like it looks like they was just cut and paste over the top, and the two aren't in sync with each other. The CGI on the Red Keep drives me crazy. Once or twice, yeah. I know, but I rewatched it and I enjoyed it a lot more on the second watch. I mean, granted, Game of Thrones I've watched over and over and over again, and the reason I did this week, there was a clip on YouTube, so I'm like, oh no, it was the guy that does the like sword fight reviews and stuff like that, and his next video was going to be um, the episode 3, season 8, the Long Night, the Battle at Winterfell, and I'm like, I'm not gonna watch him review it. I'm just gonna go ahead and watch that whole episode. So I watched that whole episode, so it got me in the juices for seeing something on the screen. I'm like, well, I mean, let me give House of Dragon a second chance. And like I said, I enjoyed it a lot more the second time. There were still things that bugged me crazy, but the whole overall story, the acting, the actors, the
okay, so there's one more thing that they need to show.
what's
All
that?
right. Well, I've heard I think from the Nauticast podcast that George was not happy that they had Rob marry at a sept. And apparently say things like no true Northman would marry a sept, and people thought it was odd because Ned got married in a sept. Well, but did he? Is that his real marriage? That marriage he considers real? When he prays about when he
I
prays
see what he
for
did
his
there.
wife to forgive him, right? Is George telling us something that Ned's real marriage wasn't there, right? He prays for his lady wife to
Exactly.
forgive him, implying that he has a wife that's alive that has never forgiven him, right? So
Yeah.
that's the implication, right? And so one of the things that he could do, there's a rumor that even though which one's alive? Is it Jace or is it which is the kid that's alive still? Anyway,
Jace.
there's a rumor that Jace, right? Is that right?
Yeah, that's the oldest one, right? Jace.
I think so. So anyway, so there's a rumor that Jace, despite already being betrothed for a marriage alliance, married Sarah Snow at Winterfell in the Godswood,
Right.
right? And so,
That's the big play on why Southerners do not accept a marriage in front of a weirwood tree as a true marriage, is to where George can do crap like that.
so, but of course, everyone dismisses this because surely such an honorable man who would not do such a thing when he needed his marriage alliance for political purposes, surely wouldn't have married um, married Sarah Snow, the
Right.
the 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 Winterfell bastard. Surely he wouldn't have married the Winterfell bastard. So he's kind of tying Jon Snow in to a marriage before a betrothal, right? So you kind of feel like they almost have to do that, right?
Well, I mean, I think there are nods in House of Dragon that pay off in
Oh
Song
yeah,
of Ice and Fire big time.
destroying
Like
bigamy right
my
and
biggest
left.
thing, my biggest thing on I know I don't know how long this chapter is, but
It's not too
uh,
bad.
um, the bed of blood that Leon is found in, I've often said it was not a birthing bed. Um, because when bed of blood or that type of wording is mentioned 4 times in the story, 3 of them definitely refer to a birthing bed. And I think George is throwing us for a rope a dope. And the 4th time, this one is not, because if he takes you left, he takes you left, he takes you left, and the next time, well, you're going to go left. Well, he actually took a right, and you didn't see it. But the difficult bursts that are happen in House of the Dragon, I say, is a nod to the difficult birth that Lyanna had. And they were only given birth to 1 child, and
Right.
we
I
say she
don't
gave
doubt that
birth
that's
to
true.
3. What's that?
I'm sure that's true. That I mean, I don't think anybody disputes that it's kind of a reference to Liana.
Yeah. Well, I
Anyway,
mean, it's how much of a reference there will admit that how much of a difficult birth that she did have. Um, I say it happened at Winterfell, did a trip, got an infection, that type thing. But it could also been the exact same scenario. Um, we either save the babies or they both die, or all 4 of them die. So as soon as I saw that, then I'm like, okay, maybe I was wrong. Maybe they didn't get born in Winterfell, and the birthing bed wasn't so much birthing, but a C-section.
yeah, that's
And
definitely
that's what
possible.
that, huh?
Yeah, that's definitely possible.
And who's the first queen that has her C-section? What's her name? Do you remember?
No, but I mean, the most famous one, obviously, Julius Caesar. That's the name.
Well, no, I'm trying to remember the name of the king's wife that he says go ahead and cut her open. He's sitting there beside her. Does it start with an L?
Aurelia is Julius's.
I'm talking about in the books.
Liana? What do you mean?
In House of the Dragon, at
Oh,
the beginning in the first
oh
episode.
yeah. They said, yeah. That you're right. That it was actually somebody in the Vale, wasn't it? One of the errands. Um, they kind of combined 2 different stories there. There's that's actually a story from from the Vale, I think.
Okay,
Anyway,
all
yeah,
right, never mind. Our little rant, but yeah, the difficult burst is just it made me reevaluate my were they born in Winterfell, were they born at Tower of Joy. It could have been basically hatched at the Tower of Joy because somebody cut the egg open. Not to put childbirth in those terms, but I mean, I mean, I'm just pointing out that it is it's easy for me to change my mind if the right information is put in front of me.
sure. Well, let's get to it.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
tired of hearing me talk.
I'm definitely hoping that we see Sarah Snow anyway. But
I'm just glad to see Cregan. I mean, I go ahead and tell you, is fond as I am of Jamie, um, the that fondness might shift to Cregan because just on
yeah,
paper,
the Dragon Knight that said that Cregan was the best he ever faced, or something like that.
the greatest knight or the greatest warrior he's ever seen, or something like that. I think it's warrior is used.
Something on those lines.
All right,
Anyway,
I'll shut up now.
let's do it. Storm 48, John 6, back in Castle Black. Back in Black. Anyway, dude. Anyway,
Go
the mayor,
ahead.
the
You're
mayor,
the one that sings, man.
the mayor was blown, but John could not let up on her. He had to reach the wall before the Magnar. He would have slept in the saddle if he'd had one. Lacking that, it was hard enough to stay a horse while awake. His wounded leg grew ever more painful. He dared not rest long enough to let it heal. Instead, he ripped it open anew each time he mounted up. When he crested her eyes and saw the brown rutted King's Road before him, wending its way north through hill and plain, he patted the mare's neck and said, "Now all we need to do is follow the road, girl. Soon the wall." His leg had gone as stiff as wood by then, and fever had made him so lightheaded that twice he found himself riding in the wrong direction. "Soon Molestown. She'll get to rest before you do, John."
Oh, could the wrong direction be maybe some fiddling by the giant players?
Maybe.
the playing the game.
The timing of his arrival, maybe if he had arrived earlier, he wouldn't have gone to Don Illinois, and that would have been a disaster. Yeah, that could be.
Yeah. Well, anytime there's lost time or something.
Anyway.
Yeah. I like that, Pod. Yeah, you've gained new respect for me.
Shall we? Soon the wall. He pictured his friends drinking mulled wine in the common hall. Hob would be with his kettles, Donald Noy at his forge, Maester Eamon in his room beneath the rookery. And the old bear, Sam, Gren, Dolorous Ed, Dywin with his wooden teeth. John could only pray that some had escaped the fist. Egret was much in his thoughts as well. He remembered the smell of her hair, the warmth of her body, and the look on her face as she slit the old man's throat. "You were wrong to love her," a voice whispered. "You were wrong to leave her," a different voice insisted. So that could be two different people fighting there. Anyway,
Yep.
He wondered if his father had been torn the same way when he left John's mother to return to Lady Catelyn. Oh, he was pretty torn. He was pledged to Lady Stark, and I am pledged to the Night's Watch. He was pledged to Lady Ashara. See Triplet Targaryen's episodes 1 and 2. He almost rode through Molestown, so fierce that he did not know where he was. Most of the village was hidden underground, only a handful of small hovels could be seen by the light of the waning moon. The brothel was a shed no bigger than a privy, its red lantern creaking in the wind, a bloodshot eye peering through the blackness. I think the idea here is that what's visible above ground is only a shed. I don't think that means that everybody is like in one tiny area when they go to, I don't think you have to wait your turn for the one tiny shed. I think, because I think people read this, and I know at least one podcast has read this and kind of been like, "What? That sounds weird." I don't think that's what he's saying. I think what he's saying is everything is underneath.
Right.
The only thing that's above ground is one shed. Anyway.
So I mean, Molestown matches Castle Black for having the wormways, whatever they call them, the labyrinth of underground tunnels. I wonder if originally they connected.
Yeah. Seems possible. Maybe they still do, and we just don't know because nobody's gone far enough.
Yeah. I wonder if that might come back into play.
Yeah, some people think that all the tunnels are connected and that they go to the Winterfell crypts and that.
Well, I think. Well, I mean,
the point of
the Castle Black
is to block them.
Well, the Castle Black and Molestown are man-made, and the other tunnels like the Gorn's Way and stuff like that, those are caverns. I think that goes all the way to Winterfell.
But if there's a big natural cavern there and you're digging, there's a good chance you wind up connecting to it.
Oh, wait. Okay, so we got Bran the Builder. Ooh, the tunnels might actually go too.
That's what I'm saying. It seems like you connect them.
Yeah. So like I said, I mean, my opinion can change given the right information in front of me. Yeah, I think you just convinced me of that.
And I was referring to close the door and come here as the podcast that commented. John dismounted at the adjoining stable, half stumbling from the bear's back as he shouted two boys awake. "I need a fresh mount with saddle and bridle," he told them in a tone that brooked no argument. They brought him that, skin of wine as well, half a loaf of brown bread. So that's what I'm saying is that the mayor doesn't need to make it to Castle Black.
Yeah, she's got to make it to Molestown.
A fresh mount, right? They brought him a fresh mount, so the mayor is done already. "Wake the village," he told them. "Warn them. There are wildlings south of the wall. Gather your goods and make for Castle Black." He put himself onto the black gelding they'd given him, gritting his teeth at the pain in his leg, and rode hard for the north. As the stars began to fade in the eastern sky, the wall appeared before him, rising above the trees in the morning mists. Moonlight glimmered pale against the ice. He urged the gelding on, following the muddy, slick road until he saw the stone towers, the timbered halls of Castle Black, huddled like broken toys beneath the great cliff of ice. By then, the wall glowed pink and purple with the first light of dawn. No sentries challenged him as he rode past. Of course, I do wonder, anytime I see dawn, especially in the Jon Snow chapter, it's supposed to be somehow associating that with the sword as well as the sword of the dawn. No sentries challenged him as he rode past the outbuildings. No one came forth to bar his way. Castle Black seemed as much a ruin as Greyguard. Brown brittle weeds grew between cracks in the stones in the courtyards. Old snow covered the roof of the Flint barracks and lay in drifts against the north side of Hardin's Tower, where John used to sleep before being made the old bear steward. Fingers of soot streaked the Lord Commander's tower with the smoke boiled from the windows. Mormont had moved to the King's Tower for the fire. John saw no lights there either. From the ground, he could not tell if there were sentries walking the wall 700 feet above. He saw no one on the huge switchback stair that climbed the south face of the ice like some great wooden thunderbolt. The Wooden Thunderbolt is one of the oldest roller coasters in the world. I grew up in Pittsburgh, so I went to Kennywood often and rode the Thunderbolt many times. Anyway, I just see Wooden Thunderbolt, it makes me think of that. There was smoke rising from the chimney of the armory, though only a wisp, almost invisible against the gray northern sky, but it was enough. John dismounted and limped toward it. Warmth poured out the open door like the hot breath of summer. Within, one-armed Donald Noy was working his bellows at the fire. He looked up at the noise. Jon Snow? None else. Despite fever, exhaustion, his leg, the Magnar, the old man, Egret, Mance, despite it all, John smiled. It was good to be back. Good to see Noy with his big belly and pinned up sleeve, his jaw bristling with black stubble. Smith released his grip on the bellows. Your face. He'd almost forgotten about his face. A skin changer tried to rip out my eye. Noy frowned. Scarred or smooth, it's a face I thought I'd seen the last of. We heard you'd gone over to Mance Raider. John grasped the door to stay upright. Who told you that? Jarman Buckwell. You returned a fortnight past. His scouts claim they saw you with their own eyes, riding along beside the wilding column and wearing a sheepskin cloak. Noy eyed him. I see the last part's true. It's all true, John confessed, as far as it goes. Should I be pulling down a sword to gut you then? No, I was acting on orders. Lord Halfhand's last command. Noy, where's the garrison? Defending the wall against your wildling friends. Yes, but where? Interesting that he says yes to your wildling friends, right? Anyway. Everywhere. Parma Dogshead was seen at Woodswatch by the pool, Rattleshirt and Longbarrow, the Weeper near Icemark, all along the wall. They're here, they're there, they're climbing near Queen's Gate, they're hacking at the gates of Greygard, they're massing against Eastwatch. One glimpse of a black cloak and they're gone. Next day they're somewhere else. John swallowed a groan. Faints. Vance wants us to spread ourselves thin, don't you see? Oh, and Marsh obliged him. The gate is here, the attack is here. Going across the room. Your leg is drenched in blood. John looked down dully. It was true. His wound had opened again. An arrow wound. A wildling arrow. It was not a question. Noy had only one arm, but that was thick with muscle. It slid under John's to help support him. White as milk, burning hot besides. I'm taking you to Aemon. There's no time. There are wildlings south of the wall coming up from Queen's Ground over the gate. How many? Noy half carried John out the door. 120 and well armed for wildlings. Bronze armors and bits of steel. How many men are left here? 40 odd, said Donald Noy, the crippled and infirm, and some green boys still in training. If Marsh is gone, who did he name as castellan? The armorer laughed. Sir Winton, gods preserve him. Last night in the castle and all. The thing is, Stout seems to have forgotten, and no one's been rushing it to remind him. I suppose I'm as much a commander as we have now, the meanest of the cripples. That was all for the good, at least. The one-armed armorer was hard-headed, tough, and well-seasoned in war. Sir Winton Stout, on the other hand, well, he'd been a good man once, everyone agreed. He'd been 80 years a ranger, and both strength and wits were gone. Once he'd fallen asleep at supper and almost drowned in a bowl of pea soup. Where's your wolf? Noy asked as they crossed the yard. Ghost. I had to leave him when I climbed the wall. I'd hoped he'd make his way back here. I'm sorry, lad, there's been no sign of him. He limped up to the maester's door in the long wooden keep beneath the rookery. The armorer gave a kick. Clytus! After a moment, a stooped, round-shouldered little man in black peered out. His small pink eyes widened at the sight of John. Lay the lad down, I'll fetch the maester. Fire was burning in the hearth. It was almost stuffy. The warmth made John sleepy. As soon as Noy eased him down into his back, he closed his eyes to stop the rope from spinning. He could hear the ravens porking and complaining in the rookery above. Snow, one bird was saying. Snow, snow, snow. That was Sam's doing, John remembered. Sam with Harley made it home safely, he wondered, or only the birds? Maester Aemon was not long in coming. He moved slowly, one spotted hand on Clytus's arm as he shuffled forward with small, careful steps. Around his thin neck, his chain hung heavy, gold and silver links glinting amongst iron, lead, tin, and other base metals. Jon Snow, he said, you must tell me all you've seen and done when you are stronger. Donald, put a kettle of wine on the fire, and my irons as well. I will want them red hot. Clytus, I shall need that good sharp knife of yours. Maester was more than 100 years old, shrunken, frail, hairless, and quite blind. But his milky eyes saw nothing. His wits were still as sharp as they had ever been.
Hey, I know it's kind of implied that he's basically kind of feeling his way and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's more to it. I wonder if he has some kind of side.
Oh, maybe maybe this is Arya's a clue that like, how is he possibly able to use a knife, right? Yeah, they have Clytus's hands guiding him, but if Clytus doesn't know this well enough to do it himself, then
Right.
how is Maester Aemon doing this, right?
Claudius isn't that good of a steward, is he?
No, that's my point. If he were,
Yeah.
wouldn't they have Clytus do this? The fact that they have the blind man doing the surgery, doesn't that imply that he almost has to be able to see?
Is he looking through Clytus's eyes?
Is he
Just
looking
like Arya does the cat.
what I was thinking?
What's that?
I was thinking of Raven.
It's true.
Anyway, yeah, it might be
Either
a clue.
or. Yeah.
There are wildlings coming, John told him as Clytus ran a blade up the leg of his breeches, slicing the heavy black cloth, crusty with old blood and sodden with new. From the south, we climbed the wall. Maester Aemon gave John's crude bandage a sniff when Clytus cut away. I was with them. Four and Halfhand commanded me to join them. John winced as the Maester's finger explored his wound, poking and prodding. So that does imply that he's having to figure this out with his hands. So maybe it's more about the memory and the.
Well, I mean, to poke and prod, he is. I'm assuming if we're staying on that, he's using somebody else's eyes. Looking at it and feeling it give you two different bits of information. The feeling, I'm assuming, would be feeling how much of it, how much pus could be inside the skin type thing, infection. I mean, there's still advantages to doing both, looking at it and actually touching it. Maybe.
John winced as the Maester's finger explored his wound, poking and prodding. Magnar of Then. Ah, that hurts. He clenched his teeth. Where's the old bear? John, it grieves me to say, but Lord Commander Mormont was murdered at Craster's Keep at the hands of his sworn brothers. Our own men? Aemon's words hurt 100 times worse than his fingers. John remembered the old bear as last he'd seen him, standing before his tent with his raven on his arm, croaking for cold. Mormont gone? He'd feared it ever since he'd seen the aftermath of the Battle of the Fist. It was no less a blow. Who was it? Who turned on him? Garth of Old Town, Allo Lophand, Dirk, thieves, cowards, and killers, a lot of them. You should have seen it coming. Watch is not what it was. Too few honest men to keep the ropes in line. Illinois turned the Maester's blades in the fire. Dozen true men made it back. Dollar said, Giant, your friend the Arx. We had the tale from them. Only a dozen. 200 men left Castle Blackbrook, Commander Illinois. 200 of Watch's best. Does this mean Marsh is Lord Commander then? The old pomegranate was amiable and a diligent first steward, but he was woefully ill-suited to face a wild coast. For the nonce, till we can hold a choosing, said Maester Aemon. Clytus, bring me the flask. A choosing? Corn Halfhand and Sir Jeremy Riker both dead. Ben Stark still missing. Who was there? Not Bowen Marsh or Sir Winton Stout, that was certain. That Thorne Smallwood survived the Fist, or Sir Otton Withers? No, it will be Cotter Pike or Sir Dennis Mallister. Which, though? Commanders of the Shadow Tower Eastwatch were good men, but very different. So Dennis courtly and cautious, as chivalrous as he was elderly. Pike younger, bastard boy, rough-tongued, bold to a fault. Worse, the two men despised each other. The old bear had always kept them far apart at opposite ends of the wall. The Mallisters had a bone-deep mistrust of the Ironborn, John knew. The stab of pain reminded him of his woes. Maester squeezed his hand. Clytus is bringing the milk of the puppy. John tried to rise. I don't need. You do, Aemon said firmly. This will hurt. I'll scream. I'll scream loudly. I'll scream very loudly. Anyway, Illinois crossed the room and shoved John back on his back. Be still or I'll tie you down. Even with only one arm, the smith handled him as if he were a child. Clytus returned with a green flask and a round stone cup. Maester Aemon poured it full. Drink this. John had bitten his lip in his struggles. He could taste blood mingled with the thick, chalky potion. It's all he could do not to retch it back up.
The blood mingled with the chalky potions, kind of like Benjamin or
Bran.
Well, yeah, the
Benjamin. Benjamin.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, and having knowing more about the Book of the New Sun, I've got to say that it sure seems likely that that's what's going on, because in the Book of the New Sun, really how he
Hey, Chris the Crow, buy me the Book of the New Sun series.
anyway. I mean, it's all it is about a boy who would go on to become, a time traveling god king who arguably awakens his powers by eating the woman he loves most in the world in a cannibalistic ritual.
Oh, that old story that's been done 100 times.
Yeah. And will do, he says, and sort of the central moral argument is that he starts off believing that he needs to rebuild the glory that his black cloak represents, and believing that only the truly loyal and the only thing that's truly honorable is to be loyal to the authorities. And because their guild is the torturers, they're the only ones that can ever really be honorable, because if you're not willing to obey sadism, then you're not really loyal, are you? And therefore you're not honorable. And therefore only they, and their black cloak represents that only they can be honorable. And he eventually learns that no, that's not right, right? And so the central moral story seems a whole lot like the King's Guard kind of crossed with the Night's Watch, doesn't it? Anyway.
A little bit.
Clytus brought a basin of warm water, and Maester Aemon washed the pus and blood from his wound. Gentle as he was, even the lightest touch made John want to scream. Magnar's men are disciplined, and they have bronze armor, he told them. Talking helped keep his mind off his life. The Magnar's a lord on Skagos, Snoy said. There were Skagosans at Eastwatch when I first came to the wall. I remember hearing them talk about it. John was using the word in its older sense, I think, Maester Aemon said. Not as a family name, but as a title. Derives from the old tongue. It means lord, John agreed. Stirs the Magnar of some place called Ven, in the far north of the Frostbangs. He has 100 of his own men, and a score of graders who know the gift almost as well as we do. Vance never found the horn, though. That's something. The horn of winter. That's what he was digging for up along the Milkwater. Maester Aemon paused to watch Cloth at the end. The horn of winter is an ancient legend. Does the king beyond the wall truly believe that such a thing exists? They all do, said John. Egret said they opened 100 graves. Graves of kings and heroes all over the valley of the Milkwater. But they never... Who was Egret? Donald Moy asked pointedly. A woman of the free folk. How could he explain Egret to them? She's warm and smart and funny, and she can kiss a man or slit his throat. She's with stir, but she's not. She's young, only a girl in truth, wild, but she killed an old man for building a fire. His tongue felt thick and clumsy. The milk of the poppy was caught in his wits. I broke my vows with her. I never meant to, but it was wrong. Wrong to love her. Wrong to leave her. I wasn't strong enough. The half-hand commanded me, ride with him. Watch. I must not balk. His head felt as if it were packed with wet wool. Maester Aemon sniffed John's wound again. Then he put the bloody cloth back in the basin and said, Donald, that hot knife, if you please. I shall need you to hold him still. I will not scream, John told himself when he saw the blade glowing red hot. so much for the scream. But anyway, he broke that vow as well. Donald Noy held him down while Clytus helped guide the maester's hand. John did not move except to pound his fist against the table again and again and again. The pain was so huge he felt small and weak and helpless inside it, a child whimpering in the dark. Egret, he thought, when the stench of burning flesh was in his nose and his own shriek echoing in her ears. In his own shriek echoing in her ears. Huh. What does that mean? Egret, he thought, when the stench of burning flesh was in his nose, and his own shriek echoing in her ears. Egret, I had to. Is that a typo, or is that... Anyway. It's probably just a typo, but what do you think?
Is there a connection?
Shriek echoing in her ears. The stench of burning flesh was in his nose, and his own shriek echoing in her ears. I don't know. It's almost as if, yeah, probably it's just a mistake. But if it's not, then it almost implies some sort of telepathic link. But anyway,
right.
Weird. Egret, I had to. For half a heartbeat, the agony started to ebb. Then the iron touched him once again, and he fainted. I think he's delirious. This deck of cards. Yeah, it may just be pointed out that he's not thinking clearly.
Yeah, it's true.
When his
Nice
eyelids fluttered
catch.
open, he was wrapped in thick wool and floating. He could not seem to move, but that did not matter. For a time he dreamed that Egret was with him, tending him with gentle hands. Finally he closed his eyes and slept. The next waking was not so gentle. The room was dark, but under the blankets the pain was back, throbbing in his leg that turned into a hot knife at the least motion. John learned that the hard way when he tried to see if he still had a leg. Gasping, he swallowed a scream and made another fist. John, in a beard and a well-remembered face, was looking down at him, big ears and all. You shouldn't move. Pip? John reached up, and the other boy clasped his hand and gave the squeeze. I thought you'd gone. With the old pomegranate? No. He thinks I'm too small and green. Friend's here, too. I'm here, too. Friend stepped to the other side of the bed. I fell asleep. John's throat was dry. There's something about that, isn't there? I fell
Yeah,
asleep. Kind of reminds me of Strong Belwas. Anyway,
a little bit.
kind of looks like Strong Belwas, too. John's throat was dry. Water, he gasped. Friend brought it and held it to his lips. I saw the fist, he said after a long swallow. The blood and the dead horses. Noy said a dozen made it back. Who? Diamond did. Giant, Dolorous Ed, Sweet Donald Hill, Homer, Left Hand Lou, Garth Greyfeather, 4 or 5 more. Me. Sam? Ren looked away. He killed one of the others, John. I saw it. He stabbed him with that dragon glass knife you made him, and we started calling him Sam the Slayer. He hated that. Sam the Slayer. John could hardly imagine a less likely warrior than Sam Tarley. What happened to him? We left him. Red sounded miserable. I shook him and screamed at him, even slapped his face. Giant tried to drag him to his feet, but he was too heavy. Remember in training how he'd curl up on the ground and lie there whimpering? Crasters, he wouldn't even whimper. Dirk and Alla were tearing up the walls looking for food. Garth and Garth were fighting. Some of the others were raping Craster's wives. Dolorous Ed figured Dirk's bunch would kill all the loyal men to keep us from telling what they'd done. They had us 2-1. We left Sam with the old bear. He wouldn't move, John. You were his brother, he almost said. How could you leave him amongst wildlings and murderers? He might still be alive, said Pip. He might surprise us all and come riding up tomorrow. Pretty much. With Vance Raider's head high, Red was trying to sound cheerful, John could tell. Sam the Slayer! John tried to sit again. It's as much a mistake as the first time. He cried out, cursing. Grant, go wake Mr. Amon, said Pip. Tell him John needs more milk of the puppy. Yes, John thought. No, he said. The Magnar. We know, said Pip. The sentries on the wall have been told to keep one eye on the south. Donald Noy dispatched some men to Weatherback Bridge to watch the King's Road. Maester Amon sent birds to Eastwatch and the Shadow Tower, too. Maester Amon shuffled to the bedside, one hand on Red's shoulder. John, be gentle with yourself. It's good that you've woken, but you must give yourself time to heal. We drowned the wound with boiling wine and closed you up with poultice, nettle, mustard seed, and moldy bread. But unless you rest, so they know penicillin here.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the ancient Egyptians knew penicillin, so why not, right?
They also knew beer. The ancient Egyptians, that is.
Yep. I can't, John fought through the pain and said. Mance will be here soon. Thousands of men, giants, mammoths. Has word been sent to Winterfell to the king? Sweat dripped off his brow and he closed his eyes. Gren gave Pip a strange look. He doesn't know. John, said Mr. Amon, much more happened while you were away, and little of it good. Raylan Greyjoy has crowned himself again and sent his longships against the north. Kings sprout like weeds at every hand, and we have sent appeals to all of them, yet none will come. No, that's not true. Anyway, our characters are often wrong.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They have more pressing uses for their swords, and we are far off and forgotten. And Winterfell, John, be strong. Winterfell is no more. No more? John stared at Amon's white eyes and wrinkled face. My brothers are at Winterfell, Bran and Rickon. Maester touched his brow. I'm so very sorry, John. Your brothers died at the command of Theon Greyjoy after he took Winterfell in his father's name. Your father's bannermen threatened to retake it. He put the castle to the torch. Your brothers were avenged, Bran said. Oldest son killed all the Iron Men, and it's said that he's flamed Theon Greyjoy inch by inch for what he did. I'm sorry, John. Pip squeezed his shoulder. We are all. John had never liked Theon Greyjoy, but he'd been in their father's ward. Another spasm of pain twisted up his leg, and the next he knew, he flattened his back again. There's some mistake, he insisted. At Queen's Crown, I saw a direwolf, a great direwolf, gray. It knew me. Bran was dead. Could some part of him live on in his wolf, as Oral lived within his eagle? Drink this. grin held a cup to his lips. John drank. His head was full of looks and evils, the sound of his brother's laughter. Faces above him began to blur and fade. He can't be dead. Dale would never do that. Winter fell. Gray granite, oak, and iron froze wheeling around the towers, steam rising off the hot pools of the godswood, the stone kings sitting on their thrones. How could Winterfell be gone? And of course, as Bran told us at the end of the second book, it's not gone. It's just broken, right?
Right.
When the dreams took him,
you can't burn down stone.
Right. That's the point, right?
Yeah.
When the dreams took him, he found himself back home once more, splashing in the hot pools beneath a huge white rearwood that had his father's face. Egret was with him, laughing at him, shedding her skins till she was naked as rainy day, trying to kiss him, but he couldn't. Not with his father watching. He was the blood of Winterfell, man of the Night's Watch. I will not father a bastard, he told her. I will not. I will not. You know nothing, Jon Snow, she whispered, her skin dissolving in the hot water, flesh beneath sloughing off her bones, until only skull and skeleton remained, full bone, thick and red. Up next, Storm 49, Catelyn 6. Another return, this time to the twins.
Getting ever closer.
Yep.
To the Red Wedding, it is.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're getting to the twins, so it's pretty close.
Yeah. I dread it. I don't know how many times I've read those chapters. It's just, without a doubt, my least favorite readings in the books for by far.
And the saddest sound is the little bells.
It's true. This is true. Damn.
Yeah, I thought this chapter was reasonably short, so that we wouldn't be too much trouble spending the first 12 minutes.
Well, I mean, I hadn't seen you in a week, so I mean, you know how it is. I like to shoot the breeze. But I mean, it wasn't a bad chapter. I mean, there's not, like you said, you didn't write a whole lot down. Yeah, I agree with you, Chris. Yeah. But it's a setup chapter, basically.
Yep.
It gets John back at Castle Black. It lets you know who's there, who's not there.
Gets him up to speed because he's been out of touch for so long.
Right. And I agree with the finding out that he was riding the wrong way. I mean, he does go to yeah. Perfect timing to go to the forge to see his buddy the blacksmith.
Yep.
But yeah, that's pretty good. Got anything?
No, I don't think so. I think we hit everything for the most part. I don't know. We haven't mentioned Preston's live stream from 3 or 4 weeks ago when he was doing the Generations of Man.
He did a live stream without me.
Generations of Man. So it's a poem about a family reunion. So first off, it's Robert Frost, who is obviously one of George's favorite poets, who literally inspired the title of this series, right? Song of Ice and Fire.
So I gotta write down what you just said. What's it called?
The Generations of Men, I think. Yeah, Generations of Men. I should appreciate gratuitous use of the word bastard in this chapter. Yep, the Stark incest poem. That's correct. Right. So it's kind of about how the tree, their family tree of their ancestors is talking to them, the Starks. Mm-hmm. And the Starks have come back to their ancestral home, and all that's there is a crater. And they're kind of flirting because they're kind of distant cousins. Mm-hmm. Right. And of course, George may have been originally intending there to be a cousin relationship going on when they finally get back together. The family.
Well, I think that was the reason for the I almost said three-way, the triangle with Tyrion, Arya, and Jon is because Jon and Arya were cousins, not half brother, half sister. But go ahead.
Right. So anyway, there's a whole lot there. They specifically at one point mentioned the others, and I mean, of course people do. People talk that way. Oh, I think they say just so.
Do they say mayhaps?
I don't think so. I don't know.
Okay.
I'll search it right here.
All right.
Yeah. I'm on poets.org/poems/generations-men, which has a whole poem. So I can search it right here, but I'm not seeing mayhaps now. But anyway, yeah, it's anyway, this first like 45 or 50 minutes of his live stream one time were about going through this poem, and he wasn't familiar with it. He had one of his friends that edits his fan fiction stuff,
Mm-hmm.
pointed out to him, and had obviously studied this quite a bit. Was talking through it.
Well, that's this weekend's homework for everybody then.
Yeah, just let's see if I can figure out which one that's actually called. Let's go to turn off my volume. It's probably gonna start autoplaying or something. Let's turn the volume down. All right, so let me look. Oops.
While he's looking that up, everybody that's on there, I know it's been a week, but I hope everybody had a good week. Good things happened, that type of thing. I missed y'all.
It's called. It's going to be his. It's going to be his April 21st. It's called Starks, Incest, and Robert Frost.
Starks, Incest, and Robert Frost. Yeah. Don't type incest in on Google.
Well, you can just go to Preston's channel and you'll find it. There's a live section, right? Let's go to his live section. It's pretty. It's reasonably recent. If there's homework, I'm dropping out of school.
Well, actually, seeing that as you were a former judge, you can actually write yourself an excuse note. We'll allow it.
So anyway, yeah, it's about sort of the Stark family coming together. Their ancestral movement.
Cool. I'm not real good with homework. Sometimes I forget about them. I try to write the stuff down that you tell me and look at the stuff that you send. Oh, that was a chair, not me. Oh, that was me though. Oh, damn, my back. But it's kind of hit and miss sometimes. It all depends on what's going on.
Where shall we meet again? Nowhere but here. Once more before we meet elsewhere. In rain? It ought to be in rain. Sometime in rain. Rain tomorrow, shall we? If it rains. But if we must, in sunshine. So she went. Anyway.
Was that the beginning of it?
No, it's the end. She's basically saying that she's saying once more we'll meet here, and then we'll continue to meet elsewhere. So the implication is that they're going to be together after this, right? They're distant cousins, but they're interested in each other.
Yeah. Well, I mean, once you hit second cousins, I mean, that's kissing cousins in the South, ain't it?
But of course, they're also talking about how they, in their family tree, there's other second cousins and things going on to the point where they're Starks multiple times over.
Yeah. Well, apparently they're are they the last of the Starks?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, I mean, other houses in this damn book.
No, they're not. The town is full of Chases, Lows, and Baileys, all claiming some priority in Starkness. So the implication is that my mother was Elaine, yet might have married anyone upon earth, and still her children would have been Starks. Dallas here today. So that implies they're all there. All the Starks that are having this giant family reunion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And her point is, her mother was Elaine, but all the Lanes in this town are also Starks, right? And the Chases are also Starks, and the Lows are also Starks, and the Baileys are also Starks, because apparently people are very proud of the name Stark, and so the ones that have other names because they were female Starks that married and took another name, they're very proud of their family Stark, and so everybody insists upon how much Starkness they have.
That's like what was it, Maiden Pool, or near the Darks? Isn't it the Darks that everybody likes to claim the if you throw a stone you hit a dark, or I mean everybody like Nimble Dick.
Right.
Is it House Dark that they're all related to?
Um, this is it's Dantos, isn't it? No, it's Hollard. I don't know, but yeah. So Ares had killed them all or something.
Yeah, I think it's House Dark. You have
All
like
of them,
the
but
spinoffs of it would
only
be,
spin-off houses around, right?
yeah, House Darkwood and uh Dark Rivers. Uh, I can't remember all but he goes through it. I think when he's talking to Brienne about the blood that's there. But I'm assuming it's about the same thing. I mean, you're related to important blood in the area.
The implication is that the Stark name is what matters to people in this town.
Yeah.
Me and my mother was a Stark several times over, and by marrying father, no more than brought us back into the name.
Everybody's a little wolf.
Yep.
We're getting close to that hour.
Yep, let's call it.
All right. Well, I mean, other than Pod, because he's going to have his dog ate his homework type thing. If you want to do the homework, that's fine. I'll do my best to do the homework so we can talk a little bit more on it Monday. Thank you again for joining us today. Sorry it was a week. I'm getting older. But as is like on every Friday, the weekend's coming up. Please have a good, safe weekend. We care about you. We want to make sure you're still here on Monday. And take care. Enjoy your homework, everybody but Pod. And y'all take care. Bye. Bye, Richard.
Bye.